This is Mrs. Palmer-Quay, and this video is the second one for Unit 4. In this, I'll give a brief discussion of the body membranes that cover over various parts of our body. You can divide body membranes into two types. There are epithelial membranes, 3 different versions, and connective tissue membrane, of which there's only one that you need to worry about. The first epithelial membrane, which we've just been talking about skin in the other videos, it also is known as the cutaneous membrane, and I did mention that in the previous video. We talk about the area, the hypodermis can be also known as the subcutaneous area, and so the epidermis and the dermis together become the cutaneous membrane. You know these are stratified epithelial cells plus connective tissue in the dermis. They are found on the outside of the body, and they are a dry membrane. So the cutaneous membranes cover over the outside of everything. The next epithelial membrane is the mucous membrane, or the mucosa. And this membrane lines all body cavities that are open to the outside. So if you as a doctor can insert a scope or something in any body cavity, it will be lined with mucous membrane. So this includes the respiratory area, the digestive system, the urinary system, the reproductive system. These are all lined with mucous membranes. They are most often a moist membrane. There's some kind of secretion being given, often ones that are producing mucin, which is the precursor to mucus itself. The mucous membrane areas of the body are often adapted for absorbing and secreting things. In some cases, mucous membranes run into the cutaneous membrane. Your lips are considered a mucous membrane, and they of course are right next door to the skin, the cutaneous membrane on your face. The third type of epithelial membrane are the serous membranes. Serous membranes also are squamous epithelial cells, but they are a simple layer, just a single layer, attached to the loose connective tissue, or areolar is the other name for loose connective tissue. And the serous membranes line the ventral body cavities that are closed to the exterior. So unlike the first two epithelial membranes that have some connection to the outside, serous membranes have no connection to the outside. They are all completely internal. Serous membranes are also a double membrane. And because it's a double membrane, it has a parietal layer and a visceral layer. This illustration with a fist and a balloon can help you think of how a serous membrane is put together. Basically, if you are pushing a balloon down like this, you'll have an outer layer and an inner layer. The outer layer, the parietal, we call this the parietal layer in the serous membrane, and this parietal means wall. But the visceral layer is right next to the viscera, right next to the organ. And there is a space in between. This may be a large space or a very, very small space, but because there is a space in between these two layers, whatever organ it is in the center is able to flex. It can move in various directions and has more freedom of movement. So if you think about the heart basically hangs, from the top here. It's like it's hanging and it's beating and it's vibrating quite a bit as it contracts and then expands in the heartbeat. And it's surrounded by the visceral pericardium. Pericardium meaning around the cardium, around the heart. And I think you probably have figured out that cardia means something to do with the heart. And the pericardial cavity here in between allows this heart motion to go on without being impeded. It gives it more freedom of motion. So then the actual space is not as large as shown on here. And then the outside layer, like the outer wall, is the parietal pericardium. So there are 3 places where we have serous membranes. Pericardium we have here drawn. Around the lungs is the second area, and that's the pleural membrane. And then around the abdominal cavity and in and out all of those many, many abdominal organs of all your digestive tract and the accessory glands and such producing enzymes for digestion. And so that's the peritoneum. So you want to know these words: pericardium, pleural, pleura, and peritoneum. Then the final type of membrane is the synovial membrane, and these are membranes that line the articulating joints, your joints that are moving. These are connective tissue membranes. There's no epithelial cells involved, and they provide a smooth surface, lubricating fluid, and a shock absorption layer for these articulating joints. Like the situation with the serous membranes, you have some space between your synovial membranes with a fluid here in the middle so that you've got some shock absorption against force as the body is moving those joints. So this next picture just shows a cutaway of a healthy knee, and here you've got your synovial membrane between the kneecap and the end of the femur, and so there would be fluid in here providing some shock absorption, some lubrication as you're bending that knee and the kneecap is sliding back and forth on the front of the knee. So that's all you need to know. 3 epithelial membranes: cutaneous, mucous or mucosa, serous, and then 1 connective tissue membrane, the synovial membrane.